Assalamu alaikum. I hope everyone is doing well. Today is our second class, technically, basically, third class, because as on the first class we didn't actually just talked about the abdomen or nothing else. But today is our second class, which is on the duodenum. So I think I should wait a bit for people to join. Okay. I hope from the last class you get to understand at least a few things about stomach. I know basically it's very difficult for the first year student to understand everything during the online classes. It's very tough, but there is nothing we can do about it. So you are when you have again the physical class room, I think you are going to understand better way. But for now we have to communicate through this way, online classes, learning from the online portion. And I think nowadays almost everything is available in online platforms. In Google you can easily find anything or everything. So I'm going to start. We should wait about 5 minutes and then we are going to start. So today we are going to discuss about the next part of the alimentary tract, that is actually the duodenum. So we have started from the stomach, then we'll go to the small intestine, and there is the first part of the small intestine is the duodenum. So today we are going to discuss the duodenum, and it's basically a easy one. If you read from the book, and if you have gone through with the pictures and books, I think it's kind of easier. And let me tell you, everybody should mm, focuses not focuses basically, everybody should try to understand. There are the topics are same, but everything is varies with the teachers. So I think your first priority should be your teachers, and what in how or in which way they are trying to take your answers or everything. So you should follow that. My purpose is to actually make a easier way make a easier way to understand you all the topics. That's it. And there is no limit of studying. So if you want to get more marks, you have to read more about the topics. I just discussed the main things of any chapter. Okay. So you if you want to uh, get more marks or honors marks, you need to have more knowledge about the topics and everything else. So okay. So this is the duodenum. This is my first slide. I'm going to the next. Okay, let me check a bit. So you can see the picture on the right side. It's showing the stomach at the above, and see there is a almost it resemble as the alphabet C, and then there is whole kind of you know things. That's basically the whole intestine. So after the stomach, basically the C, alphabet C, which is resembling the alphabet C, is our duodenum, and then the rest of the small intestine is there, which is the jejunum and ileum. So I've told you today, the duodenum is the part of small intestine. Total small intestine basically consists of three parts. There is duodenum, then there is jejunum and ileum. And duodenum is the proximal, dilated, and remember the fixed part. And you can see that there is no mesentery in the duodenum, but there is full of mesenteries on the other parts of the small intestine, and you can see the jejunum and ileum. Anyway, so when we'll discuss that part, it will you can have a more clear idea about that. And now duodenum is basically divided into another four parts. That is the first part, second part, third part, and fourth part. And we are going to go in our next slides these parts. See, uh, in the you can see, I think the picture is very clear here. We can see liver above, and then there is our duodenum, and within the duodenum there is our pancreas. So the first part basically is the the small part above the just below the liver. That is the first part, and the length of the first part is around 5 centimeter, and it extends from the pyloric opening of the stomach and to the superior duodenal flexure. And flexure is a new word, I think you'll find. So I always tell my students that you should have a medical dictionary with you all the time. If you don't find any words, you should check the meaning of the word. Flexure is nothing actually, but it basically in English it means bending. Okay, so the bending that's present between the first and second one, that is the superior duodenal flexure. And as I've told you the class before, that the abdomen is a huge area with lots and lots of viscera. So the relationships are very important in abdomen, and you need to understand what is in front or what is behind of a particular viscera, because of there are so many viscera, and it has to be, it's very important. And the most easier way to remember that by when you are reading through the book, you should always picturize it, or you can always check the picture of letters, that okay, so these are the structure they are saying in front of that particular viscera. And if you try in that way, it is very easier for you to remember. Okay, so now come our topics, that is the first part or upper part. The relationship of upper part, see in front, basically it's covered with peritoneum of greater sac and related to, as you can see, the liver is above it. So it's related with the liver quadrate part of the liver. When we are going to learn about liver, you will understand that. But for now, just remember the liver, but quadrate lobe of the liver. And then there is another structure, that is the gallbladder, neck and body of the gallbladder. I think you can see the leveling of the gallbladder. Now uh, see, this is the gallbladder. Anyway, so behind, mostly it is non-peritoneal, except the area near to the pyloric part, which is basically covered by peritoneum of Leber sac. And the non-peritoneal area is related to very important structure. One is the portal vein, bile duct, and gastrointestinal artery, and another one is the inferior vena cava. Though in this picture there is no picture of portal vein or inferior vena cava, but in later you will find pictures within with portal vein and inferior vena cava. And now the artery supply. The first part, artery supply, see, it is supplied by supraduodenal artery, which is the branch of gastroduodenal artery, and this is an end artery. Okay, and then there is infraduodenal artery, which is a branch of right gastroepiploic artery. So this is the right gastroepiploic artery. From there will be a branch called the infraduodenal artery, which almost kind of here, though there is no leveling of the infraduodenal artery here. And basically these two supplies the first part or upper part. But sometimes there can be a retroduodenal artery, which is a branch of gastroduodenal artery. So this is the artery supply of the first part. And first part of the duodenum has some peculiarities which you have to remember. Uh, if you remember the first slide I showed you, I specifically mentioned that duodenum is the fixed part of the alimentary tract. But you can see that the peculiarities of first part is that it is the most movable part of duodenum. That means the first part is the movable among the other parts. And as from the previous slide, you can see duodenum is supplied by end arteries. So this is one of the peculiarities, and that's why there is a chance of affected by the peptic ulcer. So it is also one of the peculiarities. And another one is there is no circular mucus fold present in the first part. Okay, And you can see there is a picture of barium meal X-ray, where I don't know if my mouse pointer can show you. See, this is basically the stomach, and this is half shadow. This is the loops of duodenum. And see, there is this small projection or triangular, opaque shadow that is observed, that is called the duodenum bulb or cap. It's basically present in any barium meal X-ray. But if there is any kind of presence of tumor or malignant growth, then we can see this bulb or cap in that X-ray. So this is basically the first part of the duodenum, and I hope you have understand it all. And now comes to the second part, or which is also known as the vertical part. Okay, so you can see this picture is more clear. This is our first part, and from here this is the second part. Though here it is written 7.5 centimeter, but we'll take the reference of only Dotto, as it is we almost in every medical college we follow the textbook of Dotto. Anyway, the length of second part is around 8 to 10 centimeter, and it begins from the superior duodenal flexure, which lies opposite the lumbar one, and it ends at the inferior duodenal flexure, which lies opposite the lumbar two. I think this picture shows more clearly that this is the superior duodenal flexure, this one, and this is the inferior duodenal flexure, and between these lies the second part or the vertical part. Okay, and the level is from lumbar one and to lumbar three. Okay, it is important because when you are holding the viscera, you need to hold it correct anatomical position. And now the relation of second part. I am telling you again, the second part of the duodenum is very, very important. Everything of second part of the duodenum is important. I have during when I was a student first year like you guys, or second year, so our teacher is tell that the most important thing of duodenum is the second part, which you have to remember everything very, very in a very good way. Now comes the relation. I think these pictures basically shows everything which you need to know. The relations are the anterior relations and the posterior relation. If you can check the pictures, you will see the anterior relation. Anteriorly, there is, see, the gallbladder, there is right lobe of liver, there is transverse colon, and there is root of the transverse mesocolon, and there is some coils of small intestine. Okay, this is the anterior relation. And posteriorly, see, there is right kidney, there is right renal vessels, there is the inferior vena cava. See, the blue one is the inferior vena cava of the above picture. Basically the right edge of the inferior vena cava, and there is right psoas major muscle. And medially, there is the head of the pancreas, which basically lies within the concavity of the duodenum. And laterally, there is right colic flexure and right lobe of liver. So this is the relation of the second part of the duodenum, and it's very important. Anyway, the most important of the the most important thing of duodenum is the interior of the second part. It is important for your um, what is called, sorry, it's important for your viva as well as written. So it's the most important thing. You have to remember the interior of the second part. Basically it consists of some things. There is plica circularis, there is plica semicircularis, there is plica longitudinalis. These all are basically folds. I'm coming in details. Then there is two important structure. There is major papilla and there is minor papilla. Okay, so now I'm going to details. Plica circularis is nothing but permanent circular mucus fold. So these are permanent circular mucus fold, which is called plica circularis, which can seen on the interior of the second part of the duodenum. And major duodenal papilla, it is a very important structure. It is a conical projection arising from the posterior medial wall of the second part of the duodenum. It is situated around 8 to 10 centimeter distal of our pyloric opening. And this summit basically present an orifice, that means an opening through which bile duct and main pancreatic duct open by uniting or by forming ampulla of Vater. Okay, I haven't mentioned ampoule of batter here, but it's uniting by, ampoule of batter. This is very important thing. And then there is the minor duodenal papilla, which is another small conical projection, but it is situated above the, medullary papilla about 2 centimeter. And here opens the exudative pancreatic duct. So these two are most important due to some developmental issues, and I'm going to tell you about that on later slides, but these two are important. And now comes plica semicircularis. Basically these are the folds which arches above the major duodenal papilla. And there is plica longitudinalis, which are a vertical fold which extending downward from the major papilla. I know this is not a proper way to learn that, because if I can show you the viscera, you would have a very clear idea. Now reading this is very difficult to understanding. It's basically for the first year students who is learning for the first time, but as it is very important thing, I am going to go through it again, because this is the most important thing. You need to know this, because this is the basic of duodenum, which you are going to be asked question by your teachers, or in your written examination. So you need to know this very well. So interior of the second part, it consists of plica circularis. That means it is a permanent circular mucous folds, and there is two papilla. One is the major duodenal papilla and another one is the minor duodenal papilla. Okay, major duodenal papilla is a conical projection arising from the posterior medial part of the second part of the duodenum. Basically, this is, I think my mouse pointer is showing that this is the major duodenal papilla, where it is situated around 8 to 10 centimeter away from the pyloric opening, and the summit presents an orifice or an opening through which there are two ducts. See, one is the green color, this is the bile duct, and main pancreatic duct. These two ducts open, but by uniting a ampoule of batter. Okay, ampoule of batter. I somehow I have missed this ampoule of batter here. Anyway, but remember, by forming ampoule of batter, they will open as meduodenal papilla on the second part of the duodenum, around 8 to 10 centimeter distal from the pyloric opening. And the minor duodenal papilla, it is also a small conical projection which is situated around 2 centimeter above the major duodenal papilla, and see accessory pancreatic ducts open here. And there is plica semicircularis. These are very basically fold of arches above the major duodenal papilla, and plica longitudinalis kind of a vertical fold extending below or downwards from the major duodenal papilla. So this is the interior of the second part of the duodenum, and it is very very important. And in your examination, when you are holding the viscera, you have to show these structures. So I hope when all the medical college will open and you will get to see the viscera, you can easily understand these things. Anyway, I have added the picture. This is basically how more or less looks interior of the duodenum. See, there are folds present. These are basically the plica circularis and semicircularis above the major duodenal papilla. See, there is showing, this is kind of, this is the second part. Okay, so this opening, you can see, this is the basically major duodenal papilla, where ampoule of batter, that means two ducts open here by forming the ampoule of batter. One is the main pancreatic duct and one is the bile duct. And above 2 centimeter above this major duodenal papilla will there be minor duodenal papilla, which basically we can see in the viscera. Always we can see, always find that structure on the viscera, but we kind of show it above it, 2 centimeter above it, which is here, all kind of like that. And here opens the accessory pancreatic duct. And again from here, this is a longitudinal, there will be a longitudinal fold, which is the plica longitudinalis, and there will be some semicircular fold, which is the plica semicircularis. I know it's a bit difficult to show you on this platform or in these pictures, but I hope I have at least to some extent I make it made easier for you. Anyway, we'll go to our third part, which is also known as the horizontal part. Okay, and it's around 10 centimeters, and it extends from the inferior duodenal flexure to the front of the aorta, and it lies on the level of lumbar 3 vertebra. And the important thing about third part is you have to remember the relation, which is almost similar to the all the structures. Basically, if when you are reading the other viscera, you will see most of the relations are almost you know easier. If you see from the picture, they are almost interconnected or interrelated. So I'm telling you, please, whenever you learn the relation, please see the pictures, then it will be easier for you to remember. So coming to the third part relation, see, anteriorly it is related to root of mesentery, or the superior mesenteric vessels. See, root of mesentery it's showing, and there will be some coils of jejunum. And posteriorly, almost see same of the structure. See, right psoas major muscle, then there will be right ureter, then there is inferior vena cava, there is abdominal aorta, there is right gonadal vessels. Okay, and superiorly there will be head of the pancreas and uncinate process of the pancreas, and inferiorly there will be some coils of jejunum. So I know you haven't gone through with the whole abdomen viscera, so it is now a bit difficult to understand, but when you are going to learn all the things or all the viscera, then it will be a bit more easier. Now there is an applied anatomy here, which is not this saying is that if there is any kind of obstruction in the third part, then there will be some pressure over the superior mesenteric artery, will put some pressure over the aorta. So this is an applied anatomy, which is which we usually don't ask this applied anatomy, but it's good to know. Anyway, I hope you are understanding. Then we are going to the fourth or ascending part. That is the smallest part of the duodenum. That is the fourth part or the ascending part, which is around 2.5 centimeter in length, and it extends from the front of the aorta to the duodenojejunal flexure, which lies at the level of lumbar 2 vertebra. So if you can see that I put all the vertebral level in every single part. It's because when you are holding the viscera anatomically, you have to hold it in this way. If you hold it wrong, then your teacher is going to ask you all these levels. Okay, because to hold it correctly, so you have to remember that the first part will lies on the lumbar 1, the third part up to it will be on the lumbar 3, but the fourth part it will be at lumbar 2. So that is the way you have to hold it. So when you'll see the viscera and how your teacher holds it, you will get a better idea. Anyway, so fourth or ascending part, the relations, it has also relation. And see, anteriorly it is basically related to transverse colon and transverse mesocolon, and posteriorly there is left psoas major muscle, there is left sympathetic chain, there is left gonadal vessels, and there is sorry, there is some inferior mesenteric veins. And superiorly there will be body of the pancreas. To the left there will be left kidney and left ureter, and to the right there will be root of the mesentery. So these are the relations of the all four parts, and these are the total four parts of the duodenum. Duodenum is not a very big structure, it's a very small one. Anyway, so this is our four parts with the relation and everything you need to know. Then there is structure of the duodenum, which is also very important, and it is almost same as the stomach. I told you almost every all the viscera or all the structure of the alimentary tract have same kind of structure. That is, they have four coats from outside inwards. There are four coats: the serous coat, the muscular coat, the submucous coat, the mucous coat. So I have in the last class, I have told you stomach has as well these four coats: serous coat, muscular coat, submucous coat, and mucous coat, from outward to inward. Okay, and serous coat is always the same. They are derived from the peritoneum actually. Muscular coat, see, duodenum has only two muscle. It has outer longitudinal muscle and the inner circular muscles. But if you remember from the stomach, it has three layers of muscle on its muscular coat. There is longitudinal, there is circular, and there is oblique muscle. So that's a differentiating point between stomach and the rest of the alimentary tract. And almost other than stomach, almost the other viscera of the alimentary tract consist of only two layers of muscle: outer longitudinal and inner circular muscles. Now comes the submucous coat. It's almost same as everything. It consists of loose areolar tissue which contain blood vessel plexuses, lymphatics, Michener's plexus, and the most important thing which is only found in duodenum, submucous coat of the duodenum, is the Brunner's gland. Okay, Brunner's gland is only found in the submucous coat of the duodenum, and basically it secretes fluid rich in carbonate. That means the fluid which rich in not carbonate, bicarbonate. Okay, so this is very very important, because if anyone your teacher asks you, what is the one significant characteristic of histological structure of duodenum, then you have to mention the presence of Brunner's gland in submucous coat. This is the most important or most significant differentiating point of duodenum from the rest of the alimentary tract. So this is very important. And then the last one is the mucous coat, and which has also same layer. There is surface epithelium, which is lined by the simple columnar. Then there is lamina propria, which almost consists of these plexuses, and there is muscularis mucosa. So this is the structure of duodenum, same as the stomach. uh, that means I'm telling you again, there is four coats from outside inwards. There is four coats in the duodenum. There is serous coat, there is muscular coat, there is submucous coat, and there is mucous coat. Serous coat derived from peritoneum. Muscular coat consists of two muscle layers: outer longitudinal muscles and inner circular muscles. The submucous coat contains loose areolar tissue. There is plexus of blood vessels, lymphatics, and the characteristic Brunner's gland of duodenum, which secretes basically fluid rich in bicarbonate. And there is muscular coat, which consists of surface epithelium lined by simple columnar. There is lamina propria, and there is muscularis mucosa. Now comes the blood supply. We have already read the blood supply of the first part, which was a bit different, which is supplied by superior and inferior duodenal artery, which is a branch of gastroduodenal artery. But except from the first part, the most of the duodenum is supplied by ventral and dorsal anastomosis of pancreaticoduodenal arteries. Okay, pancreaticoduodenal arteries. So see, there is superior pancreaticoduodenal artery, there is inferior pancreaticoduodenal artery. So basically, superior and inferior pancreaticoduodenal arteries. But the important thing you need to know about the blood supply from the developmental perspective. There is a question always that I will ask you, that from developmental perspective, if you ask what is the blood supply, then you have to tell in this regards that above the major papilla, or including the major papilla, the above part, it is supplied by celiac trunk as it is developed from the foregut, and below by the superior mesenteric artery because it is developed from the midgut. That means if you remember, stomach is developed from the foregut. That's why the main arterial supply is the celiac trunk. But duodenum is duodenum is basically developed half from the foregut and half from the midgut. So the portion from the foregut is supplied by mainly by celiac trunk, and these are the branches: this gastroduodenal artery, this pancreaticoduodenal artery. These are the branches, and the rest of the portion which is supplied by the midgut, that is supplied by the superior mesenteric artery. So you are there is a chart of developmental chart of foregut, midgut and hindgut. You will learn I think if you are going to learn, I don't know, mostly you will learn that in your embryology class. There is a section of that anyway. So then you will get a better idea, and if I have time I will show you that chart in my future slides or somewhere. Anyway, so this is the artery supply, and venous drainage is pretty much very easier. Basically the veins are corresponding to the arteries and they drain into the uh, superior mesenteric vein and then portal vein. Okay, so this is the blood supply of the duodenum, and then there is nerve supply. Is supplied by the autonomic nervous system. It's a sympathetic supply from thoracic 6 to thoracic 9 segments, and parasympathetic by the vagus nerve. And development, I've told on the previous slide that the mucous membrane above and including the ampulla of Vater, that means the major duodenal papilla. This portion is developed from the foregut. Remember, this portion is developed from the foregut. The the first part and up to the meridional papilla all are developed from the foregut, and below the meridional papilla rest is developed from the midgut. That's why the artery supply trunk is different. Foregut is supplied by the celiac trunk and midgut is supplied by the midgut is supplied by the superior mesenteric artery. So this is very important. And now the very last portion of my slide is the clinical anatomy. I've already told you the first part is there is more chance of peptic ulcer in the first part as it is supplied by the end arteries. Okay, and what is end arteries? I think for the first year students you have read functional end artery in your heart. Okay, so end arteries are the arteries basically which have no collateral circulation. So if this artery is obstructed or damaged, then the area will have some kind of inflammation or something, because there is no other collateral circulation to provide oxygen, oxygenated blood to that structure. Okay, that's why the first part of the duodenum is more prone to peptic ulcer than the other parts, because it is supplied by the end arteries. And another one clinical importance which you are going to find on the pancreas, that is the if there is any kind of pancreatic malignant tumor or malignant growth on the head of the pancreas, or which is also called the annular type of head of pancreas, they are going to encircle the duodenum, and that will cause duodenal obstruction. So these two are the clinical questions which is more important for the first year students, and which basically more common than other questions. So this is basically all about duodenum, and I know I maybe I'm very fast today, but this is all about the duodenum. So if I recap all the things, then I'm going to tell you what we have learned. Duodenum is basically the first part or the proximal fixed part of the small intestine, and it has four parts: the first or the upper part, the second or the vertical part, the third or the horizontal part, and the fourth or the ascending part. And we all have to remember the length of this part. The first part is around 5 centimeter, the second part is 8 to 10 centimeter, the third part is 10 centimeter, and fourth part is around 2.5 centimeter. Sorry. So the first part there is a bit if I'm going back, the first part it has a bit. Okay, the first part, the artery supply is a bit different. It's supplied by a supraduodenal branch of the gastroduodenal artery, and there is infraduodenal branch of the right gastroepiploic artery, and the supraduodenal artery is basically end artery. And there are some peculiarities of first part, that it is the most movable part of the duodenum. It is supplied by the end arteries. And what is an end artery? End arteries are basically those arteries which do not have any collateral circulation on that specific area. So there will they will the only source of oxygenated blood is through these end arteries. So if these end arteries got damaged or obstructed, then there is chance of, in case of duodenum, there is chance of peptic ulcer on the first part. And they don't have any circular mucous fold on the first part. And on barium mill x-ray, we can observe a triangular opaque shadow that is called the duodenum bulb or cap. I hope you all know what does opaque mean. Opaque, basically the whitish shadow we can see on the x-ray, that is called the opaque shadow. That is called opaque basically. Okay. Now the second part, that is our vertical part. It extends from lumbar 1 to lumbar 2, from supraduodenal flexure to inferior flexure. And you have to read the relations. I'm not going there, but the most important thing of second part is the interior of the second part. This is very, very important for viva, for written, for very, very important. It is the most important thing uh, anyway. So what are the things we are going to find on the interior of the second part? We are going to find the plica circularis. That means these are the permanent circular folds. Okay. Then there is plica semicircularis, which basically arches above the mesoduodenal papilla, and there is plica longitudinalis, which is the vertical fold and extending below the mesoduodenal papilla. Okay. And other than that, what are we going to find? We are going to find major papilla and minor papilla. Remember, these two structures are the most important, where they open. What are the ducts open here? These two things are very important, and these two things you are going to find in pancreas also. Okay, but in a different way, but the same thing. So what is mesoduodenal papilla? It's basically a conical projection arising from the posterior medial wall of the second part of the duodenum, and it is 8 to 10 centimeter distal to the pyloric opening of the stomach. What happens? Two ducts open here. One is the bile duct and one is the main pancreatic duct. By uniting and forming ampulla of batter. Okay, ampulla of batter, and they will then open as major papilla in the second part of the duodenum. And what is minor papilla? It's also a small conical projection, and it opens around about 2 centimeter above the major papilla, and accessory pancreatic duct open here. Okay, so very, very important. So major papilla, which is where the main pancreatic duct and bile duct open by forming ampulla of batter, and minor papilla here opens the accessory pancreatic duct. And this is the picture. Third part, horizontal part, this is basically, you have to remember third and fourth part, the relations of these two parts. And the structure same as the stomach. Basically almost every alimentary tract has the same structure. The outer four coats are same. From outward to inward, there are serous coat, there are muscular coat, submucous coat, and mucous coat. And muscular coat, stomach has 3 layers, but other or rest of the alimentary tract has only 2 layers of muscle. There is outer longitudinal and inner circular muscles. And about submucous coat, it is same as the other structures, but the one significant or characteristic findings of duodenum is the Brunner's gland. You are going to find Brunner's gland only in the submucous coat of the duodenum, and it secretes fluid which is rich in bicarbonate secretion. Okay, so the rest muscular coat is also same. There is surface epithelium, there is lamina propria, and there is muscularis mucosa. So this is the structure. And blood supply, I'm telling you, if you remember from the development perspective, above the major, including and above the mesoduodenal papilla, this is basically supplied by the celiac trunk, and below it is supplied by the superior mesenteric artery. And apart from the first part, most of the duodenum is basically supplied by ventral and dorsal anastomosis of superior and inferior pancreatico-duodenal arteries. And venous drainage, same as same vein that corresponds to the arteries, and they are drained into superior mesenteric vein and portal vein. And nerve supply, autonomic nervous system, sympathetic supply by thoracic 6 to thoracic 9 spinal segment, parasympathetic by the vagus nerve. Development, I've told you, very, very important. up to and including ampulla of Vater, the whole structure of the duodenum is supplied by, supplied not, developed from the foregut, and below the rest of the part is developed from the midgut. Okay, foregut and midgut. So that's why this medullary papilla or ampulla of Vater very important, including and up to ampulla of Vater or medullary papilla. This portion is developed from the foregut, and below the rest of the part is developed from the midgut. I'm telling this 2, 3, 4, 5 times. It's because this is the most important thing in this, viscera. And clinical anatomy, as the first part is developed, supplied by the end artery, so there is more chance of, having peptic ulcer there. And one of the in a clinical portion is that if there is annular type of head of the pancreas, that means if there is any kind of tumor or growth in the pancreas, uh, mostly in the head, specifically in the head, then there is a chance it will encircle the duodenum and it will cause duodenal obstruction. Okay, so this is basically all about duodenum, and I hope I made uh, you. I think I made a bit easier for you. I hope so. So as I have no clue that you are under you have understand you have understood it or not. So let's if there is any question you need to ask, or if you need to repeat anything, so you can tell me.